Hello and welcome to a new episode of the B2B Academy podcast. At NNC Services, we provide valuable learning and growth experiences to business leaders through the B2B Academy project. This is our contribution to the business ecosystem, and we would like to feature top business leaders sharing experience and knowledge through coaching, training, events, and other types of content. Under the B2B Academy, we host this valuable podcast, which will feature business growth-related challenges of CEOs, entrepreneurs, marketing and sales leaders, and how to overcome them, of course. Now, today, we have an amazing guest, Oana Lefter, which is a managing partner at NNC Services, and she will share a lot of do's and don'ts about LinkedIn, especially, why it doesn't work as it used to and how to fix it. And I love how she covers, specific tips, both on content creation, but also on how to engage in a personalized manner and in a valuable way with potential audiences. I hope you'll enjoy this episode, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you. Oana, welcome.
Hey, Loredana, good to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
So for our audience, do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a partner at NNC, and I'm currently the one in charge with coordinating our sales and business development department. So we deal a lot with LinkedIn, obviously. I've been supporting B2B IT companies grow for more than 15 years. And at NNC, I've worn multiple hats, from PR to HR, to sales, account management. But what is my career mission is to use marketing and communication to bring to market technology that ultimately make the world a better place.
I feel like you're doing so much more because you've seen like hundreds of projects on B2B and you've been at the forefront of what B2Bs need to do to develop strategically and so on. But today we're just touching on a really small, let's say, subject of all of your expertise. Now, we ask this with all of our guests. What are some of the defining moments in your career, maybe in your coaching, maybe you are even now part of some amazing, training or education experiences?
Oh, that's a good question. It makes me think a bit. But I think there were two major, I would say, points in my career. I think first it was when I decided to leave journalism as a career and I moved to marketing consulting. I kind of, went over the fence to the other side, like we say in our area. And the second, when I became a partner at NNC, and that actually gave me the opportunity to have the more entrepreneurial perspective and thus understand even better the growth challenges of our customers.
Yeah, so it's amazing. Like you've been in the role of course, the employee and the manager and the entrepreneur, and I kind of feel like now you're giving back. So you sort of overcame even this level of development and are trying to give back and help other businesses develop. Now, coming back to our topic for today, when I started the business, I used LinkedIn, which was really, really early on, like they were in the first development phases, to acquire our first lead and then our first customer. And OSF is still a customer today. Actually, they're wearing the name we baptized them with. Does LinkedIn work that good today, you think? Like, can you still acquire quality leads? Can you build like a long-term relationship starting from this point? What do you think, Oana?
So LinkedIn still works, but not as easy as it used to. I mean, you have to know a bit more to make it work and to be a bit more patient, especially because there's so much, there's such a big crowd right there. So just to answer bluntly, it does, but you have to know a bit of its let's say, algorithms and also its tips and tricks to make sure that you're still getting the results you want to. And it's also more quality oriented rather than quantity oriented.
I'm going to skip ahead and just ask you, are there alternatives to LinkedIn? Should we just, for sure, just disconsider LinkedIn and just look away to new options, you think?
Yes, there are actually quite a few. Not many know them, or not many perceive them as, you know, alternatives to LinkedIn. Like, for instance, Slack is perceived as a collaboration platform for teams, but it's also used for online networking. For instance, there are particular groups, some quite large, like, for instance, Online Geniuses has a Slack channel community of 25,000 marketers. So obviously, if you are a company targeting marketers, that's one place for you to be. Also, HubSpot has just recently announced Connect.com, which is obviously more built around its own community of marketing automation experts, both providers as well as customers in this area. But they just released it last week and it's growing quite heavily. Also, I think Sing is still being used in Germanic-speaking countries. So there are a lot of alternatives, but it all ultimately comes down to where is your audience, what would make more sense for you to use in order to reach that audience.
But it still kind of feels from what you're saying that there's no real alternative to that LinkedIn, profiling the right target, you know, understanding a bit about their activity and what they're passionate about or what their career about, and then targeting them somehow, or trying to spur a valuable conversation more than just targeting them. So let's then explore a bit more. Why do you think LinkedIn does not work? Because we already mentioned, like, it's a crowded space, but I feel like there's more there. And can you share maybe some advice on ways that it can still work, right? I thought I heard you mention it can still work. It's
still. Yeah, so definitely the reason why it doesn't work that good as it did is, like you said, users are bombarded with invitations to connect and messages and content. Second, and this is quite specific to the times we are living, people are experiencing that digital fatigue that especially increased during the pandemic. So they don't react that well to communication and communicating in a digital environment. And we must not forget that actually LinkedIn has an algorithm which is built to both provide users with the best experience, and sometimes being bombarded with messages is not the best one, as well as to encourage advertisers to buy LinkedIn services. And the algorithm has changed. That has happened, to Google. People who work in PPC and SEO know that. And that's actually similar to in LinkedIn's case. For instance, there are invitations, the number of invitations you can send are now limited, more than before. There are some key recommendations on the posts you should or you should not put, like, for instance, no less than 1 per week, but not more than 20 per month. Or some tips and tricks like don't put links, off-site links into your posts, because LinkedIn doesn't want people to leave their platform. So you can put the links in the first comment. That's what we see advertisers do on Facebook as well. And let's not forget that LinkedIn also has a team of editors and also some editor robots that can offer you a boost or draw you back. So these are some of the main reasons why LinkedIn is not working as easy as it used to. But there are some workarounds. There are some things that you can do to counterattack this. So first of all, when you are a professional on LinkedIn, people expect to see valuable content, valuable advice from you. So make sure you keep your publishing schedule consistent. If you don't have the time, you should definitely think about a ghostwriter or somebody who provides these services. Second, you can integrate LinkedIn with other tools such as Apollo or Lucia or Link Helper that can help a bit in that, initial manual research and content discovery. Also, you can, for instance, use Sales Navigator to track targeted accounts, and many of the B2B marketers and salespeople now have a targeted approach. But also you can use it to discover new contacts through saved searches, and you will get automatical, automatical replies when a new contact comes on. And last but not least, because there's a lot of hype about being disconnected nowadays, consider building a community on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn groups are underused. But if you find your tribe, if you find your niche, you can definitely build quite a powerful platform there.
Such amazing advice, Oana. Thanks for sharing that. Some is really refreshing in the sense that we can still use LinkedIn, right? I kind of feel that this community aspect also has been disregarded, and I was mentioning, of course, based on our experience from hundreds of projects at NNC, I was sharing in a Forbes article how community building is actually the future in marketing, because people don't want to be bombarded with noise. They will try to stay away from general messaging channels, and they will only choose what they will be exposed at. So this aspect is really interesting. Now, one of the ways, like if we assimilate LinkedIn with a social network, even if it's virtual, right? Why do we build a business network? One of the purposes is awareness. Are there ways to build awareness? Because you mentioned bots, you mentioned editors at LinkedIn. Are there still ways to build awareness with LinkedIn, you think, Oana?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say most of the awareness you can build it through the content you provide on LinkedIn. For instance, make sure you post company updates consistently. Many focus, a lot on their personal profile, but the company page is also very important. Make sure you also follow the rules that LinkedIn recommends when it comes to posts, just so they become more visible, and that helps increase awareness. So, for instance, use hashtags. A lot of people use hashtags, but they don't know that it's recommended to not use more than 3. Also, you can check out, for instance, LinkedIn's content marketing score and trending content resources, just so you know what is hype, what people react to more, and you can match on that trend. And also in terms of awareness, what we do, for instance, in our campaigns for our customers, we run very targeted awareness campaigns through LinkedIn ads. For instance, on a very specific profile of company, or even on a very clear list of target accounts. Make sure you are visible on their profile. Make sure they see your brand, your logo through those LinkedIn ads, which are, of various types, depends on what works best for you. But you can make it very specific and not just increase awareness, but increase awareness right where you want it to be, right in your target market.
Yeah, really valuable advice. I love the pieces on, how to make sure that your content gets traction with the LinkedIn tools, basically, that they provide. And you're right on with the fact that when building awareness, make sure they see the logo, make sure, it's marketing one-on-one, like calls to action, right? Why do we build awareness? To drive them to something, right? We want to drive them through a process. We want to make sure that their buyer journey is attended and they're not abandoned at the first step. It's like showing them a nice, merchandise in a window, but not opening the door or not inviting them in or things like that. So it makes total sense. One of the ways I use LinkedIn is for personal branding and thought leadership. Do you think that is a valuable way of using it? And what's some advice about how, I could do better in terms of maybe personal branding and thought leadership?
Yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn is the one platform you should build your personal brand on in B2B. And there are several ways you can do this. First of all, post valuable content, valuable advice from your experience, real life examples, how you overcame certain challenges, how you supported some of your customers. This storytelling technique, it works so well because it helps us connect at a very human level. So make sure you tell stories. And while you are telling those stories in the content, you are building that thought leadership. Second, it's not just you over there, interact with other profiles. One thing I do, for instance, I pick 5 content creators in my industry, and I block about 15 minutes a day to interact with them and comment on their posts. And rest assured, you will get, 9 out of 10, you will get some very good replies, and that will help you build your own tribe. And also, I think this aspect, it's not that not as important as it should be. Get great endorsements on LinkedIn. Many people forget that what other people say about us, even if they're not, large gurus who are well known, but sometimes even the feedback you get from your own employees, your own colleagues, will shape your own personality online. So make sure from time to time you ask for testimonials, you ask for endorsements, and that will help you build your overall brand on LinkedIn.
Oh my God, Oana, I have to ask for referrals. I forgot to do that for years. I think I got some organic ones, but I think that I still have a lot of work to do there. Thanks for sharing that. So now that you've started with this, what are maybe your top, or if not top, just 3 really valuable tips or advice you can give to our audience?
Mm-hmm. So I've been using a lot lately LinkedIn, especially for business development, since this is my key focus. So I will share some of our tips in that area specifically. First of all, I would say be patient. So try to connect with people several times and genuinely show you are interested to help them and how, and not just sell upfront something. We call this value-based selling, which leads me to the next tip. Offer free advice and help. So while you're reaching out to people, before asking for their time, before asking for a reply, try to offer something, and try to offer something in a very customized manner, which brings me to the third tip, which is always personalize. Now more than ever, we cannot rely on those standard messages. Everybody knows them, everybody uses them. There's a lot of buzz, a lot of hype. People block them. They react in a very passive-aggressive manner. So personalize, research the profile before reaching out and engage. And I will say this is the one tip. that I've heard in a training with HubSpot that is very interesting. Always engage on the content that people produce. So if they wrote a certain post, or they wrote a blog post, or they commented about something, always engage on that post, because people react most about the content they produce. So if you do your research and you see that this person said something about a particular topic, that's the one thing you can relate on when reaching out. And this brings usually the highest reply rates.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like I noticed, for example, if I'm interested to connect with someone, in first I comment on their posts for a couple of times before reaching out, the chance of them accepting my invite or even interacting to some of my messages is much higher than just engaging cold. So for sure this works. I also, because I'm a tool junkie, Oana, I also learned from you about the crystal notes tool, which gives you sort of the personality of the people you talk about. And I'm just going to share this for our audience. And I'm using this tool for a couple of years now, but I was just talking to, I sent out a proposal a couple of weeks back and I haven't heard from the customer. I tried to follow up once, twice, 3 times, all of the processes that we have. And I got no reply. And I really needed a reply, even if it was negative. Like I want a reaction because we're putting effort in the proposal and so on. So I'm using Crystal Notes on top of LinkedIn, and I get an answer in 30 minutes. 30 minutes. So I was like, I should have done this in the first place. I wasted, a couple of weeks for nothing. I believe that there's also some tools that help, but of course, we need to use tools carefully. We need to make sure they are part of the process, that we are still in control, and we're still personalizing. We're still looking at the human that we talk to, not just the machine. etc., all of the good behavior type of things which we would do in real life. Thanks for sharing so much advice. And now, how are you staying up to date with, so many, you mentioned LinkedIn algorithm changes and, certain tools that they provide. And so what's your way of staying up to date with this?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm lucky because my colleagues at NNC are always on LinkedIn and they use it on a daily basis. And whenever something new comes up, they make sure they share it with the entire team. But you can also have access to that if you follow our blog, for instance, or our social media channels. And at NNC, we usually make sure to share the major upgrades, at least with our readers. Some other good sources are LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn Learning is actually training platform supported by LinkedIn, and some of the trainings there are around their platform and their technology, and they're usually updated. So if you follow that, or you try to go more in depth with the technicalities or the methods to boost your profile or your campaigns, that's a good source. And also I follow a lot of other marketing technology providers which usually integrate with LinkedIn. Like for instance, HubSpot. HubSpot in their newsletters or their blog, they usually share a lot of the, especially the major updates or what impacts the campaigns and the profiles at a major level.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. So any last thoughts, any last minute advice for our audience, anything that comes to mind and we haven't covered in regards to LinkedIn? And I know that this is a huge topic, but...
Yeah. So there are a lot of voices out there that say, LinkedIn is, it's not useful, everybody uses it. I would say LinkedIn is still, the one platform, the largest database of contacts in B2B. There is no other database like LinkedIn because it was built by the community. So each one of us has chosen to build a profile there. So it's still the go-to. We must use it, and we must use it well. But I would say, remember that the goal is not to gain LinkedIn, but to have those meaningful engagements online and to add value to your network. So this is in a very authentic manner what you should do. If you're trying, if you're looking for big numbers, great leads from day one without giving something in return, it's not gonna work. And last but not least, obviously, if you need help with ramping up your social networking visibility, or if you know somebody who does, please get in touch with me. I'm always happy to help. I'm going to ask Loredana to include in this podcast description the link to my meetings calendar. So I'll be very glad to connect with you, especially because we talked about this connection we're all going through. So happy to meet you guys.
Thanks again, Oana, for sharing that. I could not advise, B2B CEOs of technology companies to reach out to a better person than Oana. Oana speaks based on her experience as, a marketer, manager of marketing departments and teams and projects, owner, and now with an active role of, developing a big business, both for our company, which is more into MarTech, but for many technology SaaS business providers. So, and I know that you always have amazing advice like the one that you shared today. Thanks again, Oana, really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you again. I'm sure that we will welcome you next time with such interesting topics as the one that you shared today. Thank you.
Thank you, Loredana. Anytime. See you.